Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to yet another installment of the Red Shadow's favorite games. And I am the Red Shadow, and as we're hitting the home stretch in my series of videos here, I'm gonna be cheatsing a little bit here by highlighting certain games, but basically declaring the entire series of games as my favorite. And this is definitely no exception. The game in question here is, of course, the almighty Metal Gear Solid. And this is my beautiful Greatest Hits copy with a nice 17 to purchase sticker on it. Not my original copy, as you probably picked up. I had an actual original copy. I believe this was a game that I bought when it first came out. I want to believe, X-Files, hey hey. I want to believe that I bought this one when it first came out, because I remember reading about it and being hyped for it. And this game was absolutely no slouch. This is a classic right here. But before I get into talking too much about the original game, as I like to do, I want to show off the entire series, as I mentioned. So the next installment would be the VR missions. The original Metal Gear Solid had some VR missions that you could go through as preparation and training for the game. They were pretty popular, and it spawned an entire game full of VR missions. These are pretty fun. Sometimes they can be really brain twisting, and other times they're just, like I said, it's just fun to fly through some of them. The next thing I have to show off here is my Essential Collection for the PS2, the Metal Gear Solid Essential Collection. But the games included in this, and I'm not so sure if that's going to be coming in backwards on this video, because I just now noticed these are coming backwards. But anyway, this pack has Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, but it also has Metal Gear Solid 1 in a PlayStation 2 size case, which is kind of cool. This was because I bought this because it was cheap, $20 or $30 to get all three games, and it was my best way, in my opinion, to pick up number 2, which was called Sons of Liberty. But I'm not sure if this is the redone versions that came along later on. There's number 3. I'm not a big fan of 3. But, well, anyway, I'm all over the place here with this. They released 2 and 3 in regular versions, and then later on they released like these enhanced versions with extras on them or whatever, and they call them strange names, and I don't quite recall what those names were. I'm having a brain fart, major brain fart moment, so we'll just keep on moving here. Next in the series is Metal Gear Solid 4. This is for the PS3. Haven't played this one because I haven't really finished. I've beat the first game and number 2. I've never beat 3, so I'm hitting a roadblock because I don't really care for 3, but I want to beat 3 before I play this, even though it's probably not really necessary. But I'm looking forward to getting to play the first PS3 game in the series. Now, if anybody knows anything about the current state of Metal Gear Solid, there's a 5th game, or a 5th and 6th game out there right now, Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain. It's very confusing as to why it's been split into like these 2 games. Ground Zeroes is more like a prologue. It's more of a sample of what's going on, and it's available on PS3, 360, and PS4 and Xbox One. I imagine Phantom Pain is only going to be on the next-gen consoles, and maybe that's why Ground Zeroes was released separately, is to tantalize people into buying the next-gen console, because that's all you're going to be able to play Phantom Pain on. I don't know. But that's neither here nor there. I will eventually pick up Ground Zeroes, but I'd like to see it drop down to at least a $20 price point, considering that the game can be very, very short depending on how you play it. One extra aside to show off is my copy of Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. This was the GameCube exclusive re-release of the original game, done with the graphics engine of like number 2 and number 3, but it was only on the GameCube, and once I got a Wii that was backwards compatible with the GameCube, I was like, I gotta get this one. These are relatively expensive when you consider you're going to be spending about as much on this as you would a newer current console game. I don't remember exactly what I paid for it, but I'm wanting to say that they're probably like $40–50 now, so that's a pretty fair price for, or pretty fair, not fair, it's a pretty high price for a game that came out in 2004, 10 years ago. But if you're a purist and you love a series like this, you definitely want to get everything that you can, at least the ones that you can enjoy. I don't have any interest in the PSP or PS Vita games, anything that came out on the DS or 3DS. For the most part, I don't, even though I have a 2DS so I could play those. I don't know that I would really get into them. So I'm focusing on the consoles right now. Okay, one last thing to do before I talk about the game itself. I, of course, need to go through the strategy guides. This is my official mission handbook, as it's called, for Metal Gear Solid, the first one. And then here's the Metal Gear Solid VR Missions strategy guide. Here's your strategy guide for Metal Gear Solid 2. This one, of course, shows that tagline I was looking for on the Essentials Collection, Sons of Liberty. So that's a strategy guide for that. This was a recent purchase here, but it's the Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. That's the tagline for the third game, Snake Eater. There's a strategy guide for that. I'm wanting to say that they called the other two games something like Subsistence and Sustenance. Something weird like that. And then here is my still in the shrink wrap Metal Gear Solid 4 strategy guide. The only thing I don't have in terms of strategy guides that I'd really like to have is one for the Twin Snakes, if they made a strategy guide for this version. They may not have. Okay, Metal Gear Solid. One of my favorite PS1 games of all time. Definitely this game at least has to hover in or around the top 10 of my favorite games of all time. I was so stoked for this game. I loved everything I read about it in the magazines, all the screenshots that I saw about it. It was so different from the games I'd been playing up until that time, because I had been focusing on a lot of action-style games slash RPG games. And a stealth game, my only other time, you know, with time spent with any kind of a stealth game before this, or around the time of this, was the Tenchu games. This list looked like it was going to be amazing, and it was so cinematic looking. This was one of the first games that truly opened my eyes to the fact that video games could almost be like controlling a movie. And that's a very good description for this, because at times you will feel like you're watching a movie, because the cutscenes and codec conversations will go on and on and on. I don't know how it would be now. It's been a while since I've played this, but I've beat it a couple of times. Maybe it would get on my nerves now, but back then I just ate up every last word that these guys said in this. The voice acting was tremendous. The writing is tremendous, although when it comes to all the political mumbo-jumbo and philosophical stuff and whatnot, I pretty much check out when they get into that kind of stuff. But I really enjoyed listening to the banter between the characters, and all of the storyline stuff, as convoluted as it might have been. It's just really good. And a lot of the Metal Gear Solid games that came after it followed suit with a lot of talking, a lot of cutscenes and whatnot. But the first one, like I said, is the one that I really love. I've beat it a couple of times, but I have not gotten what I consider to be the perfect ending, which is the one where you save Meryl because you resist the torture scene that happens in the game. I just could never make my fingers work fast enough to keep Snake from not having to either die and get the worst ending, or give in to the torture, so that it's Otacon who gets saved instead of Meryl. One of these days I hope I'm able to actually get the better ending. The VR missions I've played around with. Metal Gear Solid 2 I have played and beat once or twice. Fine game. A lot of people complain because, spoiler alert, if you haven't played the second game, don't listen any further. I'm about to spoil a big thing, a pivotal thing for a lot of people. But you don't play as Solid Snake excuse me, throughout the entire game. Only the beginning part of the game you play as him, and then you take on the role of this guy named Raiden, who a lot of people don't like. They call him like the ultimate pussy of Metal Gear Solid, like wussy boy. A lot of people just don't like him. I don't have a problem with it at all. Whatever. That's my attitude about it. What I did have a problem with was when you get to the Metal Gear Solid 3, and the game goes back in time, and you're no longer playing as Solid Snake, you're playing as Big Boss. Solid Snake and Liquid Snake's father, basically, where he's the gentleman whose DNA was used to make Solid and Liquid Snake. I didn't want to go back into that time. I didn't want to go back to somebody who wasn't Snake, somebody who looked like him but wasn't. I didn't want to go back to Cold War era. I didn't want to leave all the cool gadgets and stuff behind. I didn't want the outdoor environments. I'm sorry, but I'm a big baby when it comes to 3 and all the games that have to do with Big Boss, which I do believe that Ground Zeroes is puts you in the feet, or the shoes, excuse me, of Big Boss. I'm not 100% on that, but any of the games that forced you to be Big Boss and not Solid Snake really aggravate me. But still, the entire series is pretty damn awesome. But Metal Gear Solid is the one that takes the cake for me. It's one of my favorite memories of having a PlayStation, one of my favorite gaming experience of the 90s. I could probably go back and, like I said, play it at any time and just eat all of it up, just like I did before. And I'd have something to shoot for with that stupid torture scene of trying to do better and push beyond the limits I fell to before. So I guess that's about it. Metal Gear Solid 1, my favorite game, or one of my favorite games, and my favorite of the series. The entire series as a whole has a lot to offer. Has a lot to offer for me, considering the fact that I haven't even cracked into 4 yet. So thanks a lot for watching. As I figure it, I've got 4 more videos to do, and if I'm able to keep pace and do 2 tomorrow, I'll do 2 on Thursday, and I'll be done with this series. And hopefully you've all enjoyed it. Hopefully you've all watched me stumble over my words enough. Hopefully you'll stick around for some of my other series and other videos. Having a whole lot of fun. I wish I had some more video games coming in to do some more pickup stuff, but I'm going to enjoy these video games that I do have, and hope you all enjoy it as well. So anyway, blah blah blah, wrap it up. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.